Hello and welcome to episode 317 of the official EstablishTheRun.com podcast. My name is Adam Levitan, still from a dumpy hotel room in Florida, as always joined by Evan Silva. Good morning.
Oh, good morning. I'm not having as good of a morning as you are, though. I just to address your monster win. I wanted to spin it back a little bit. And I remember when, originally, and I guess it's like about 5 years ago now, when you were thinking about leaving Roto World, and I was so selfish. I was begging you to stay at Roto World, and I could see that you had already become the best DFS analyst in the game at that time, and you had an incredible passion for it. But you smartly left, and you just became just a massive influence, and you helped so many people over the years. And this win was obviously your biggest, but you've been on an absolute heater even before this. I mean, for some time now, you've been on an absolute heater. No one outworks you. No one deserves it more. I'm so happy for you, Adam. And I remember my dad was a lawyer at a law firm downtown in DC for a long time, and there was another lawyer at his law firm that wrote a book, and it just blew up. It became like a New York Times bestseller. And the day after it just like blew up, my dad saw him in the elevator, and he was like, "What are you doing here? Like, why are you still at work?" And that really was reminiscent to me of you the day after winning $250,000, getting up at 6:30 a.m., grinding the Rams offensive snaps, at wide receiver, tweeting about Ben Skoranek, so it's a credit to you, man. And, I'm so happy for you, man.
I appreciate it. Yeah. And I talked about it on the solo pod, but starting ETR has made a huge difference in my DFS results, personally. And I know we've helped a lot of people out there, which actually means more to me, but my personal results have been better by getting to talk to Evan every single week, 3 or 4 times, just on shows and stuff like that. And I talked about a ton more of that on the solo pod. I hope you guys go back and listen to the solo pod, but yeah, I really appreciate it, man. And it's true. I always love to play DFS from the first time that I ever played it. I actually thought it was illegal the first time I played it. And I was like, this is illegal, but that's kind of right up my alley. I mean, this sounds great. And so, it's amazing to kind of top it off like this, for sure. I will say, Evan, I'm actually not going to respond to Adam anymore. I will only respond if you refer to me as King GPP, bro. Yeah. So, so that's going to be the deal going forward. No, but I appreciate all the love from everyone. I tried to give, talk about some stuff on the solo pod. I hope you guys go back and listen, but I do appreciate all the notes from everyone. It's honestly been really overwhelming the last couple of days. However, as Evan noted, the show goes on here because we have 2 weeks left. And honestly, usually these last couple of weeks are some of my favorite weeks of the season. Sadly, I don't love that they added a week 18 this year, but they did it. We're going to grind it. And there's 2 weeks left in the regular season, 4 playoff weeks left to go. We will continue to go team by team each week, as we are here to do today, with takeaways from a fantasy perspective. Big shout out to everyone in their fantasy Super Bowl. We are going to try to help you out here today and get into anything else. Before we get into it, first, rest of season sale is on. Holiday sale is on the NFL subscribe page right now. $75 if you haven't subscribed yet. $75 for the rest of the season and all of the playoffs. Also, this show is brought to you by our friends at PrizePicks.com. PrizePicks. I'm down here in Florida. I mean, PrizePicks is blowing up down here in Florida because they don't have legal sports betting yet. You can play on PrizePicks. There's billboards everywhere. It's actually crazy. Everybody's talking about PrizePicks down here. But anyways, if you don't have a PrizePicks account yet, it's basically parlay form player props. If you want to try them this week, 100% instant deposit bonus up to $100. Use promo code ETR to get the best deal, or the link in the show notes. Again, promo code ETR at prizepicks.com for the instant deposit bonus and the best deal. All right. This past week was a crazy one because it was Christmas and the COVID stuff was just completely out of control. Not only was the COVID stuff out of control, but now they're letting guys come back. So you don't even know when a guy gets ruled out if he's able to come back and play, which has turned it into a huge mess. However, let's start with the Arizona Cardinals here. We saw James Conner gets scratched late. And I was actually surprised to me. I thought James Conner was going to play. Obviously, that led to a big role for Chase Edmonds. Chase Edmonds, 16 of 17 running back carries and 9 targets for a 21% share from Kyler Murray. I mean, just an absurdly strong role for Chase Edmonds. We'll see on James Conner's status going forward. Also, another big target game for Zach Ertz without DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, this is not a fluke at this point. Very clear Kyler likes throwing Zach Ertz and likes doing it a lot. What did you see out of the Cardinals week 16 game?
It's concerning because they've started to string together poor games in terms of their passing offense. And, you know, if you want to attribute it to personnel, like the personnel is probably not getting better anytime soon. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins, MCL out until the playoffs. Rondell Moore dealing with an ankle injury. He missed week 16. You know, he's a player that relies very much on like short area agility and that sort of thing. And so even when he comes back, will he be fully healthy? Even before he was hurt, you know, he wasn't giving him a whole lot. There was a big miss to Christian Kirk early in the game that might have changed some things. But I mean, you know, Zach Ertz, like, he almost got cut early, you know, by the Eagles before the season. He is out here leading the team at 13 targets. You know, it's just their passing game has plateaued at best and regressed at worst. And if you want to attribute to personnel, like, it's not going to get a whole lot better until the playoffs. I thought it was sort of interesting that Jonathan Ward worked ahead of Eno Benjamin as the Cardinals lightly used number 2 back. Chase Edmonds wound up being like a pretty big smash on that 2-game slate.
Oh yeah.
But I'm concerned about their passing game. Like they rely so much on Kyler Murray, just like making things happen on his own. And, you know, there really hasn't been any progression there.
Without Kyler Murray, I mean, people will be calling for Cliff's head. Like people would be like trying to fire Cliff if it was. I mean, Kyler is just so good and he's carrying Cliff. Falcons. You know, I've thought a lot about this Kyle Pitts stuff because he's always so cheap on FanDuel. And so I really liked Kyle Pitts this past week. Dude just can't find the end zone. And I think at this point in his career, obviously it's only been 15 games or whatever, or 16 games. I think it's fluky, but 6-1-0-2-0 on 6 targets. He's had a really good year. If he just had some positive touchdown regression, people will be saying, oh, he's awesome. And he's still so young. So I don't want anybody out there to panic on Kyle Pitts. It's just really comes down to the touchdowns. Other than that, I think he's had a pretty good year. So what do you see on that? Anything else on the Falcons game against the Lions?
Yeah, I think he needs 127 yards over the final 2 games to break Mike Ditka's all-time rookie tight end receiving record. So yeah, by no measure can his rookie season be considered a disappointment. I mean, I think that, it's been a matter of touchdowns. Like, they need to figure out a way next year to get him more involved in scoring position. That's been a big detriment to him. Cordero Patterson, only 8 touches against the Lions. That was his second fewest all year after a game where he got hurt in the game. His usage has just become hard to explain, I think, at this point. Matt Ryan, he's going to enter week 17 with fewer than 240 passing yards in 6 of his last 7. He's thrown for 1 touchdown or fewer in 7 straight games. Yeah,
really tough rest of season for the Falcons at Bills and then home against Saints. I mean, they're in big trouble the rest of the way offensively. Let's go to the Carolina Panthers. And so, Sam Darnold was healthy. I don't know why Sam Darnold didn't start the game, but they insisted on starting Cam again. They bring Darnold in. Darnold plays most of the game against the Bucs. I guess they're just trying to see what they have in Darnold, because I think there's a contract decision they haven't. They might have already made the contract decision on Darnold. They have to pay him a bunch next year, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I mean, obviously Cam is not the answer. So not a lot to say on Carolina at this point. I mean, they're one of the worst offenses in the league, period. What'd you see out of their game against the Bucs?
Yeah, they're just playing out the string. Classic situation of playing out the string. They're using 2 quarterbacks, several running backs, 4 receivers, 2 or 3 tight ends. It's just become an offense where you use the opposing defense against them, and you don't mess around using any individual Panthers skill position players.
The Bears, I mean, this David Montgomery usage, man, and you were on it against Seattle. On any other week, like, David Montgomery would have been undoubtedly like a standout must play in DraftKings. It's just running back was so strong this week. I didn't think Dave Montgomery was a must due to team cratering, due to efficiency concerns we've seen with Dave Montgomery. But man, 21 carries and 9 targets, and like not a fluke. Like this has happened a few times in a row now for David Montgomery. Just massive usage. And I think Khalil Herbert like scrambled off for a fluky kind of long touchdown too. I mean, this usage could have been even better for David Montgomery. What you see out of the Bears win in Seattle.
Yeah, and then they get a comeback win in Seattle, and Matt Nagy is like scraping to keep his job. Like, do they stick with Nick Foles after this? And provided that Justin Fields is hurt in any fashion, they are getting back Allen Robinson. It looks like finally. I don't know. Do you think they stick with Foles?
Yeah, I mean, they won the game, and you can make it. And it's not like Fields was playing great or anything. I could see them definitely think they were home against the Giants. Like I could definitely see them sticking with Foles for sure. Home against Giants, then at Vikings to close it out for Matt Nagy. I still don't see how they bring back Matt Nagy regardless, but yeah.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, they need to clean house.
I know. I'm interrupting the video. Wah. But if you're enjoying this video and want to see more fantasy football and DFS content like it, please just take 2 seconds, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button. Really does go a long way for us, and we'd appreciate it. Thank you for watching. And now back to the show. Let's go to Dallas. One thing about Dallas, like we finally saw Dak, go off, and I played Dak in cash 2 weeks ago and it was painful. This was why I played Dak in cash, though. He can have these huge games with these targets. 11 targets for Amari Cooper was really good to see, but only 5 each for CD and for Gallup on 39 throws. I mean, that's pretty weak for them. What you see out of Dallas, kind of a massive, a massive blowout of the Washington football team.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if the Washington football team could have put up any challenge, then we would have seen a little bit more work for the ancillary receivers there. But I mean, Dak looked all the way back in the first. He barely played in the second half. But in the first half, I think he had 327 yards, 4 touchdowns. He also rushed for 21 yards, which was his most since week 4. I thought that was really promising. He was moving around good. He, being a dual threat really hasn't been a big part of his game this year. Historically, it has. He was never like a, Kyler Murray level scrambler, but it's usually been more than this. Yeah. But if he is healthy, if he's gotten healthy to the point where he can be his actual dual threat, comfortable self, I mean, that's going to be a big boon to them in the playoffs. They're a really good, their defense is just nasty. I mean, I think they have the best defense in the league right now. They clinched the NFC East here. They're going to be a really dangerous team in January.
Yeah, Cowboys are 11-4 now. Games left against Cardinals and Eagles. I do think that they're going to go for the number 1 seed in the NFC. Packers are 12-3. Bucks are 11-4. Rams are 11-4. So, I know we haven't covered any rest stuff yet. I mean, I think all the races across the board are close enough where we're not expecting any rest stuff this week. We know the Chiefs really do like to rest their players. They're 11-4. Titans are 10-5. We'll get to that in the AFC.
Yeah, going into this week, 27 of the 32 teams were still in playoff contention.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, wild.
Lions. So DeAndre Swift, I thought there was a chance of this that, they were talking a lot about DeAndre Swift coming back. It didn't happen. So Jamal Williams is the 1A. Craig Reynolds was behind him. But the story to me of this game is, I didn't play any Amon-Ra St. Brown. I would have played Amon-Ra St. Brown some if Jared Goff was starting, but I was like, with Tim Boyle, can Amon-Ra St. Brown really do it? I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown did it with Tim Boyle, 991-1. I mean, this dude is balling. What'd you see out of the Lions?
Yeah, I got a lot of stuff wrong in week 16, and one of them was just being almost completely dismissal of Amon-Ra St. Brown because of Tim Boyle and how bad he's been. But Amon-Ra St. Brown now has 11 or more targets in 4 straight games. Jared Goff is back from the COVID list this week against Seattle, which is a pretty good matchup for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Josh Reynolds went on the COVID list on Monday. So Yeah, I mean, I think we'll be talking about Amon-Ra St. Brown on Friday.
Packers. There was more Aaron Jones than I expected in this game. You know, it wasn't really that even with AJ Dillon. Aaron Jones was ahead, but still, I mean, 3 more catches on 3 targets for AJ Dillon. Just, you know, zooming out, AJ Dillon is such a freak, like built like Derrick Henry, but dude has like a 90 something % catch rate this year on 30 plus targets, such a baller. But yeah, you know, I don't know if you have a read on when it's going to be more Jones or when it's going to be more Dillon. Obviously, in clock killing, I think it's typically more Dillon. But either way, you know, I think it's going to be somewhat around even. And then, of course, the Aaron Rodgers stuff is just insane. He's now minus 175 to be the NFL's MVP.
Yeah, and Aaron Rodgers sort of aggravated his toe injury, got it stepped on. He was limping around on the sideline against the Browns, but it seems like early indications are that he's going to be fine. They got a great, in terms of Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, they have a great matchup coming up against the Vikings. Vikings have been getting shredded by the run this year. No Cobb, no MVS against the Browns. Allen Lazard played 52 of 59 snaps, 32 routes run, only 2 fewer routes run than Devontae Adams. Equanimous St. Brown was the number 3, but he saw 0 targets. I'm guessing that MVS will be back against Minnesota. We'll have to see.
Rams had a bad injury. Darrell Henderson goes down with a knee sprain. You know, this Cam Akers stuff is crazy. Like now, I don't know if I believe him, but now Sean McVay is saying, yeah, well, we lost Darrell Henderson to a knee sprain, but, you know, Cam Akers has a chance to play, which doesn't make much sense to me. I think playoffs or deep playoffs would be more realistic. They did have Jake Funk up for this game. So I think the most likely scenario going forward for the Rams is like SONY MICHEL for almost all of the work with a little bit of Jake Funk going forward. This Matthew Stafford game was egregious, man. I don't know where this Matthew Stafford game came from. It was so bad, but of course, Cooper Kupp still gets there. Just absolutely outrageous season for him. What did you see out of the Rams?
Yeah, season low 197 yards for Matthew Stafford. The Rams scored 30 points, but they got 16 of those points on field goals and the Brandon Powell punt return touchdown. The Rams do have the Ravens next. We know they've been getting killed by passing games. I mean, your pockets got swole, betting on a passing game going up against the Ravens this past week. So I think it'll be a bounce back spot. We'll have to look at the weather and stuff. The game's in Baltimore, but I think it's a bounce back spot for Matthew Stafford coming up. Odell Beckham has 4 touchdowns in his last 5 games with the Rams. Cooper Kupp needs 18 catches to break Michael Thomas's all-time single-season record for receptions, 231 receiving yards to break Calvin Johnson's record for receiving yards. They've got the Ravens and the 49ers next. Neither of those have imposing secondaries. Yeah, SONY MICHEL, I think, is just going to get massive workloads, somewhere between 20 and 30 touches in the final 2 games. He had 28 touches last week. You know, Darrell Henderson, he got hurt last week, but he barely played. I mean, I think SONY MICHEL had 20 touches under his belt before Darrell Henderson even entered the game.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I was just going to say we were on it and we kind of second guessed ourselves because the rest of the market had Darrell Henderson playing a bunch or even Darrell Henderson playing ahead of SONY. And we were like, no, we know SONY is playing ahead in this game. SONY MICHEL came in 1.9% owned on FanDuel. Against the Vikings, nobody played SONY MICHEL. He was such great leverage off the Cooper Kupp stuff. And I know it didn't work out. That's not what you needed to win, but those are the kind of spots that we're looking for in DFS for sure.
Yeah.
Vikings. Adam Thielen aggravated his ankle. And, now they say he still has a chance to come back next week. I mean, at this point, I can't trust Adam Thielen at all. Do expect Dalvin Cook to come back off the COVID list this week. What did you see out of the Vikings game against the Rams?
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting on Dalvin Cook because he is unvaccinated.
True.
So we'll have to see. Justin Jefferson has 100+ yards and or a touchdown in 7 of his last 8 games. Yeah, I can't trust Adam Thielen. KJ Osborne did step up in this one against the Rams for 568 and a touchdown.
Let's go to the Saints. You were on this one, Evan. I saw Cody took a screenshot of your analysis of Ian Book heading into this game. I mean, you absolutely ripped Ian Book before the game, and Ian Book went out there, and I didn't watch a lot of the game, but from what I saw on Twitter, it looked like he turned in one of the worst quarterback performances of the season. What do you see out of Ian Book's first NFL start?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be a coach. He's not going to. It's just, yeah, I don't think he has the talent to play in the NFL. And this is, he was in a really tough spot. He was going up against one of the hotter defenses in the league without both of his starting offensive tackles and with one of the worst receiver corps in the league. The first pass that he completed of his NFL career was to Ethan Wolf, and Daigle's back. And when he completed the pass, we both looked at each other like, who the is Ethan Wolf? Literally neither of us had ever heard of him. He's been around for a while. But he, he's only playing because all their Juwan Johnson and Adam Troutman were on the COVID list.
Yeah.
His second completion was a pick six. So, and then I think he wound up taking 9 sacks. So yeah, it was really, 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 really rough. But a testament to how rough it was. The Saints, the day of the game, activated 14 players from their practice squad up to their 53. I didn't even know that you could have 14 players on the practice squad. For a long time it was 8.
Yeah.
Last year it went up to 12, but the rules are changing so rapidly at this point that it's hard to keep up with all the minutiae. I guess now you can have 15 or 16 players on the practice squad. I mean, they pulled up 14 players from the practice squad. That is insane. That's insane.
Yeah. And this cratering of the Saints offense is Jameis wasn't going to succeed really in this. Taysom can succeed in fantasy because of his legs, but people, even good quarterbacks, are drawing really thin to have success, I think, at quarterback for the Saints. And it's funneled down to Alvin Kamara. I mean, I talked about it last week. It's hard to have big games when the offense is like this and you're sharing with Mark Ingram. Let's go to the Giants. Good to see Kadarius Toney lead the team in targets. Obviously, they were in big trouble with Jake Fromm against this Eagles defensive front with their offensive line. So it was trouble no matter what. Saquon, hasn't had a 100-yard game in 2 years. He hasn't even reached 70 yards this year, but at least Kadarius Toney was back out there healthy, led the team in targets. Anything on the Giants?
Jake Fromm started. They went back to Mike Glennon. They got smacked 34-10 by the Eagles. Afterwards, Schefter reports that Joe Judge is safe. Schefter don't miss, but I guess I'm a little skeptical of this because Dave Gettleman is almost certainly out, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they'll figure out a way to just have him retire. Well, one of the rumors is that they're going to go to Kevin Abrams, who I think is their financial guy. And they're just going to have Dave Gettleman retire and become a consultant. And in that scenario, I guess they would keep Joe Judge. That seems like a really, really bad line of decision-making there by the Giants. But the Giants have been doing this for, a decade at this point under John Mara. I don't know. We'll have to talk to Jordan and see what he has to say about that. The Giants, it's gotten so bad that they are almost a touchdown underdogs to the Bears in week 17. The Bears, it's that, and we don't even know who's going to play quarterback for the Bears in week 17. Yeah. So that's how bad it's gotten.
Yeah, for sure. And we talked about that last week with Giants and Jets stuff, stuff that can look good on paper, is not. The floor is so much lower than we're even able to project. It's breaking models. Eagles. So Miles Sanders was on his way to another pretty good game. It wasn't the quad issue or the ankle issue or the knee issue or whatever else he has going on that sideline. Then he broke his hand. And so it's scary because we already knew Miles Sanders had a bad receiving projection. Now it's 0 if he's even able to play. They have Boston Scott. They have Jordan Howard. They have cable backs behind them. So we'll see on Miles Sanders' status, but they're in good shape to make the playoffs. Jalen Hurts, I think, has given himself a chance to be this team's long-term starting quarterback, at least. What you see out of another good win for the Eagles?
Yeah, I mean, that was I think those are the big storylines. What's going on in the backfield right now, because Miles Sanders is definitely out for week 17. Jordan Howard with the stinger, he's questionable for week 17. Boston Scott wound up with 12 touches And then Kenneth Gainwell is the next man up. They're going to face Washington this week. Washington's been pretty good against the run, but still, I think it's been a largely matchup-proof running game for Philadelphia. So that'll be a big situation to monitor entering Week 17. I mean, the Washington football team is dead at this point. You know, their best defensive linemen are like getting into fights on the sideline. You know, that'll be a defense, I think, to bet against, regardless of whether it's the running or the passing game for Philadelphia.
San Francisco 49ers, it's just a point on George Kittle real quick. Like, it's so hard to do projections on George Kittle because, like, when he gets 8, 9, 12 targets, I mean, he absolutely smashes. But you see these really low target games pop in, and that's why, like, I think paying $7,500 in cash for Kittle, which he was 2 weeks ago, was just like bad. And I know a lot of people did it, but yeah. And so you see in this game, he only sees 3 targets. He goes 221-0. It's not George Kittle's fault. He's an absolute baller. He just, like, I mean, it's hard to project significant, consistent volume for him. I do know that I'm bearing the lead here. The lead here is that Trey Lance, who, my God, I mean, you know, of the things that I got wrong before the season, Trey Lance was pretty painful, especially in best ball, where, like, you know, you need everyone to play, and Trey Lance just, like, didn't play. But now, if somehow you made it to the finals by some miracle and you have Trey Lance, he's got a pretty good chance to start against the Texans because Jimmy G is dealing with, like, some elbow and thumb issues. So what do you think about this spot for Trey Lance, assuming he starts, and anything else on the 49ers?
Yeah, Trey Lance has made 1 start so far this season. Week 5 against Arizona, he rushed 16 times for 89 yards. So, and now he's facing the Texans. And Arizona at the time was like the best defense in the league. Texans are still one of the worst. So, yeah, I expect Trey Lance to be pretty popular. Kyle Shanahan on Monday said that Elijah Mitchell, concussion/knee, has a chance to return this week against the Texans. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Yeah, I think Trey Lance. And Kyle Shanahan also, I mean, he was talking up Trey Lance. I mean, Trey Lance is going to start this week. I think we can say that pretty confidently. The beat writers sound pretty confident that he's going to start. But Kyle Shanahan said that he just had the best month of practice since he's joined the 49ers, Trey Lance, and now facing one of the best possible matchups for a quarterback. Yeah, I mean, we're going to be talking about him a lot on Friday.
One thing I'd say is I thought Jeff Wilson has played, like, reasonably, you know, and so I'm not, like, I'm going to be skeptical about saying Eli Mitchell immediately comes back and goes back to that role that he had before, which was just a massive, massive role before the injury. Let's go to Seattle. You know, just standard embarrassment for Seattle. You know, I mean, they're running so few plays per game. I think they're down to like 55 plays per game, which is the least in the NFL since like 2018 or something like that. Russ only throws it 27 times here. They lose to the Bears at home, officially eliminated from the playoffs. I mean, I just have no faith in this team whatsoever. Any thoughts on Seattle?
There's like a snowstorm in Seattle.
Yeah.
I didn't even think that it snowed in Seattle. I mean, it hasn't even snowed in Chicago literally at all. And there's a freaking snowstorm in Seattle. It's kind of wild, you know? Yeah, I mean, not a whole lot of takeaways here. Just the offense has been broken for a while. Rashad Penny had another good game, though. He's big and fast, man, you know, and give him some room. He can hit big runs, and he's become he's become a nice little story down the stretch.
All right. Last team here. Oh, sorry. Second to last team is the Bucs. And, you know, you could see this coming kind of. I mean, they had no one. And Tom Brady allowed a known psychopath in Antonio Brown to live with him and his family. Tom Brady throws it 30 times, 15 targets, 50%, 5-0 target share for Antonio Brown. Just absolutely insane. He didn't even have like a huge game. I mean, he obviously had a big game, but he didn't have like an absolutely massive game. It could have been a massive game. I'm also curious what you thought of Ronald Jones's first start, because we're going to get Ronald Jones again this week, this time against the Jets. I mean, Ronald Jones handled 20 out of 29 running back carries, wasn't particularly efficient, but he didn't play on pass downs at all, as we knew he wouldn't, but he still saw 3 targets. And that was kind of the point. Any takes on Rojo, anything else with the Bucs?
Yeah, I think Rojo is going to be fine. I think he's going to have a really big game against the Jets. Didn't break any long runs, you know, against Carolina. And so that explains why he finished with like 20 for 65. But I think he's going to have more opportunities to break long ones against the Jets for sure. I got, I liked one of the many things that I got wrong in week 16 was that I like Tyler Johnson. He saw 0 targets. And so then I got a couple questions on Twitter. I'd like to hear what happened here. And it was Antonio Brown happened because Tom Brady had 30 pass attempts and Antonio Brown saw 15 of them. So Gronk failed too, in an incredible spot. Cyril Grayson also played ahead of Tyler Johnson, which I had no idea, no way of knowing that would happen. Cyril Grayson has bounced around. He was an All-American sprinter in college at LSU, and he's like bounced around the NFL just because of his speed. Small guy, 5'9", 190, maybe. One of these types of players that Bruce Arians like kind of might fall in love with, like, John Brown, or he loves fast guys on the outside. And again, this is hindsight analysis, obviously, but he played ahead of Tyler Johnson the week before. Tyler Johnson had, just dominated snaps and routes in the Bucs receiving core, but the market share for Antonio Brown, we thought it might be big. I don't think anybody could have predicted 50%. That's just insane.
Yeah.
Brashad Perryman, Scotty Miller also barely played. Cyril Grayson jumped in and he played ahead of Scotty Miller too.
Yeah.
Now Brashad Perryman is due back from the COVID list. So there's going to be more shuffling in the receiver core.
I was just going to say that maybe, I'm speculating because I have no idea, they think that Cyril Grayson is Mike Evans' direct backup and the other guys play other roles. So, but I don't know. Who knows what they're thinking? Yeah. And it was painful for me. I had Rob Gronkowski and cash, and God, Cam Brate had a solid game. It is what it is.
Wait, did you lose your cash games?
Yeah, I was like a little bit. I lost a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Football team, Washington. I don't even know what to say, man. They were missing so many guys. So many guys were coming in and off the COVID list. I couldn't even keep up with what was going on. They just got absolutely steamrolled. I don't even know if there's any takeaways to have here in this game, other than I thought Antonio Gibson is like once again playing hurt. But anything on the football team?
Yeah, I agree with that. Antonio Gibson just clearly not healthy at this point. Ron Rivera came out, said Taylor Heineke is going to start in week 17, but Kyle Allen is probably also going to play against the Eagles. The Washington football team, their season is over. Yeah. And we'll be talking about the Eagles defense against them this week.
Yeah, officially GG on all of my Washington futures, over 8 wins, odds to win the NFC East, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. That is going to do it for this NFC team by team pod. Appreciate you all tuning in. If you haven't yet, please hit subscribe on YouTube, on anywhere podcasts are found. It is indeed free. Helps us to continue to bring you guys free content like this. Also, go back and listen to the solo pod. I hope you guys tried to tell some jokes and also be heartfelt about everything that's going on. So hope you guys listen to the solo pod as well. For Evan, for producer Luke, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.